grew up in Minnesota, raised by my dad, my little brother and I, as a single father, with a lot of help from my rest of my family, grandparents, aunts, uncles, all of that. Pretty much all of them, all the men in my family were combat veterans, or at least all military. Most of them combat veterans. Grandpa, World War II, uncles, Vietnam, dad, Marine Corps, Vietnam, 2 tours, including Battle of Quezon. So, as a young boy, boys emulate the adult males in their life, so I figured if I'm gonna be a grown-up, that's just what I gotta do. So I gotta follow in their footsteps. 1983, when I was 13, the Marine barracks in Beirut were bombed, killing over 100 Marines. And at that point, I decided I was going to join the Marine Corps. So at 19, I did. Wanted against the wishes of my father. So he had seen a lot in his experiences. But when you're a teenage boy, there's nothing that's going to hold you back. You're just going to go do it. And I knew that later in life I would regret it if I didn't. So I figured by joining the Marines, that'd be my best chance of seeing combat and having those shared experiences with my family. So, and I did. So, first Gulf War. So I'd been in for a couple of years, and that kicked off invasion of Kuwait. So they packed us up and shipped us over from Hawaii to the Arabian desert. Slight change on that. It's hot. We were there, lived out in the field pretty much the whole time. Nothing. Did I mention it's hot? Lived out of the back of a truck. Went 6 months without a real shower, no laundry facilities. Back then, no email, nothing like that, writing a lot of letters. I sure got a lot of care packages, but that definitely helped out. It was a good saving grace. So we've been out there for a piece, living out in the field, and the day the air war kicked off, we took our first incoming, some rocket fire, which that was interesting. And got our CO's attention, our commanding officer, and he devised a plan to show the enemy what a bad idea that was. And the mission that we went on is something that Marine artillery has never done before. We packed up and did a sneak attack. We went up to the rocket battalion that had shot at us. So there's about 70 of us and about 600 or so of them. And we pulled up to within 1,500 meters, half mile, and sat there waiting for the ammo train to pull in. And when it did, we let them have it and got out of there. And they were plunking at us with mortars and stuff like that, but luckily they weren't very good shots, and they had the wrong fuses on there, so they'd go into the sand and blow up instead of air bursts or anything, which would have been more, it could have made for a bad day. So yeah, and that action actually was, come to find out, the first combat by Allied ground unit. So Fox Battery, first to fire, that became our motto, and they actually found the original howitzer, the first howitzer to fire 155 millimeter towed artillery is what we did. And it's in the Marine Corps Museum waiting for us to show up together and have a reunion. So then we did other missions and other things, and participated in some other actions. Finally winding up at the Kuwait International Airport, went through all the oil fields that were on fire, which was that looked like a war zone. That was hundreds of fires. I counted almost 200 one day. I don't know if it was day or night because it blotted out the sun. You couldn't see anything like that. Just smashed tanks and vehicles and bodies and all kinds of nastiness everywhere. So it was good to come home. They've made me who I am today, both good and bad. And the challenges that I've experienced because of all that took me a long time to put together, as I think it does for a lot of combat vets. The integration from civilian, from Marine combat veteran to civilian it's not easy. For one, Marines we're a little special. So the training that they give us doesn't always work too well in a boardroom or office environment. Just the attitude and camaraderie and the warrior lifestyle, or you're being aggressive to survive, even with each other. So there's no show any weakness or let up or anything like that. So that was hard, and it was years afterwards that I discovered that I had PTSD. I was going through a really hard time, and that made sense. The doctor looked at me and goes, "You got PTSD." I'm like, okay. And I was going through a pretty hard stretch then. I had come very close to taking my own life, and just everything seemed to be falling apart. Going through a divorce with my daughter's mother, and I knew I had to get my stuff together and be a dad, which, thank God for my father, because I had a supreme example. So, thank God for that. So probably one of the first steps I took, I got with the VA and started some counseling, and I started going to church for the first time in my life. I was an atheist before I went to combat, and then in combat there's really no such thing as an atheist. You start praying to anything or anybody that you think will be helpful. So I became an agnostic at that point. I remained an agnostic until about 14 years ago when I started going to church for the first time, and I still go. Which that addressed an overall need for healing, a very broad, healthy help. You can't do all this stuff alone. Lost jobs, relationships, divorces, run-ins with law enforcement, very dysfunctional relationships. It just made it very difficult. It's like you're carrying a lot of extra weight on your back. Depression, anxiety, insomnia, hypervigilance, the whole list, the whole gamut. So I've got all those t-shirts in my closet. And I finally had gotten to a point with that where I got sick of it, and I knew that I needed to address PTSD. Well, I would rephrase that question as to what is the hardest part, because it doesn't go away. It's all in managing it. Every morning you wake up, there it is. Sometimes it gets up before you and it's waiting to whoop your butt, but you got to be ready. You have to, in that extra weight that you're carrying around, you have to take out the dead weight and replace it with tools. Tools that you use to fight it, positive tools. And they're different for everybody, and it's taken me a long time to figure out what mine are. So some of the most difficult parts of it, I would say, is when I don't use those tools. I'm not happy. So every day is doing what I know I need to do to make it a good day. And to decide when you wake up that today is going to be the day that I decide it's going to be. And whether that means I need to engage in some of my positive hobbies like play guitar and go to the gym. I mean, those are essential. I have to do that every day, or I love to cook and see my daughter, my dad, my grandson, who's amazing. You fill those spaces where the demons can creep in. You fill them with good stuff, and that works. I mean, it really does. It's not perfect all the time, but it really, that's the key. Not just for myself, but that's what every combat vet that suffers from PTSD needs to find a way to engage in.